Hello and welcome. I am Dogbert, and this is my what to work on for patch 6.3 advice. But also, if you haven't completed DD5 yet, Apocalypse isn't for you. He's really for somebody who has completed DD5, and unfortunately, only a small percentage of the player base actually has. So if you haven't completed DD5, if you're not anywhere close to it, Apocalypse just isn't for you. You might want to work on something else. They're going to get yourself through DD5, get through the raids that you need to get through. Also, this patch will probably be a very long patch. I'm expecting 8 to 10 weeks based on the fact that we have 5 characters. They tend to release a character every other week, but they have been known in the past to do like one a week sometimes to help push it along. But I don't think we're going to see patch 6.4 until at least September. And because Red Hulk's not in this patch, that means that the earliest we can get a Red Hulk Scourge would be in patch 6.4, which is September. It could even go into October before we actually get the actual Scourge. And on top of this, don't forget, we also have to get the Death Scourge, which means we're probably looking at November, December, just for the first run of that, if not later. And in order to get Apocalypse, don't forget, we need all the Scourges to overrun twice. We are getting the second run of Morgan Le Fay. When we'll get Rogue, War, and Death a second time, who knows? I don't see us getting Apocalypse anytime this year, unless they really up the release cadence on these Scourges and really get them running pretty quick. So anyway, let's go into the advice now. And the first priority, what to work on in this patch, priority number 1 is the Bionic Avengers Tech Raid Team. This is the Iron Man, Vision, Deathlock, Hulkbuster, and Vision. You can work on Vision and Iron Man right now. Start building them up and getting them ready. You will most likely need them at least at level 85, gear 14, if not gear 15. We are going into the Doom 3 raid, so you might want to go for gear 15. If you are a spender, it might be wise to buy an offer of each of these characters, at least one, just to get them unlocked and have them ready and start working on them. If you're not a spender, make sure you unlock them. It looks like it's going to be Deathlock first, then Vision, then Hulkbuster. In that order will be released. We'll see if they can work without the whole team. They might, because they give out a lot of energy. They're a very good looking team. And let's not forget, they're also going to be a Death Scourge team. So that's also good. And the other thing is Iron Man will be useful in Node 5 and 10 of the War Scourge, since he is a Wave 1 Avenger. So keep all those things in mind. As we go into priority number 2 is any other raid team you need to upgrade in order to beat Doom 3. We don't know what Doom 3 looks like yet. Do you need to upgrade your Web Warriors? Who knows? Mutants? More than likely. Tech team? Well, we're getting that tech team, so work on them. Skill team? Hey, maybe you need to upgrade them. Who knows? Mystics? Depending where you're at, you might need to upgrade, you might not. You can use full Darkhold in those Mystic nodes if you don't want to build Cloak and Dagger, which is not a bad idea. And if you've already completed DD5, you should have Dormammu and the Eternals. You can throw them together along with Deathpool. And right there's a team. It works very well. If you want to see a video on that, I can give you one. That's the team I'm using in 2.3 Mystic right now. Whether or not it will work in Doom 3, who knows? We'll find out. But you definitely want to be able to beat these Doom 3s. Get as much of the Gear 17 unique orbs. I imagine there's going to be teal gear, more teal gear, and probably even the blue ISO 4, which you also need in order to get Apocalypse. It will be probably tied to these raids. Priority number 3, and this is more for people who have already beaten DD5, but you're probably going to need them too. This is probably going to be the team for the War Scourge for nodes 5 and 10. That is the hero Asgardians. Yes, I said hero Asgardians, not the Ravagers. They feel very much like a trap. I just don't think they'll be very good. And of course, Wave 1 Avengers, nobody thinks they'll be good. But the Wave 1 Avengers do have Hulk, and they do have Iron Man. A couple of characters you're going to have to work on eventually anyway, so those might be some good subs. If you're working on the hero Asgardians, you definitely want to put as much as you can into Thor. He is the damage. You want him as big as possible. I don't know about buying like a 6 or 7 red star on him, but 5, absolutely. The second priority would be Mighty Thor. She does a lot of damage too. Definitely want her big, and then of course Sif, and then it's a toss-up between Valkyrie and Heimdall. But also don't forget, Sif and Valkyrie are skill characters, not mystic characters. So if you're worried about gear, just remember that then. You can put some of that skill gear to use finally. Unfortunately, Thor and Heimdall and Mighty Thor are all mystics, unfortunately. Priority number 4, if you haven't done it already, is get all the Darkhold gear 15. The reason being for this is that we're getting the second run of Morgan Le Fay. We're getting her saga opened. You only need gear 15 to complete difficulty 2 and get her new abilities completely unlocked. You don't need to beat difficulty 3 right away. And don't forget it's difficulty 2 to get the Apocalypse unlock at 5 yellow, 2 red. Of course, then you need them at gear 16 in order to do that. But we don't have all the other sagas yet because we don't even have all the horsemen yet. So gear 15 right now is fine. And I think we all know which character I'm really talking about. It's really the Scarlet Witch. I highly doubt anybody who's actually going to be at this level won't have Darkhold to gear 15 by now. But if you haven't gotten them all to gear 15, now's the time to do it, after you've completed those other tasks. And finally, the last priority of this patch, if you get this far into it, if you built everything else up and you're doing good in those Doom raids, is to start to work on that Bamma Team. This is another one with the new characters, Amadeus Cho and Abomination. If you're a spender, you probably just want to get them unlocked at least to start working on them. They are eventually going to need to go to gear 16, gear 17. But once you get down to this priority, then you can start working on Hulk, She-Hulk, and depending on what time, if they've been released yet, Abomination and Amadeus Cho. That's for people who have already completed DD5. If you haven't, you should be working on characters to get you through DD5. Which brings us into our teal gear priority, which is any character you need to complete DD5 if you haven't completed DD5. A lot of my advice for what you should bring into DD5 is still the same. You still want to go with like a Squirrel Girl, Shang-Chi. Those are like the 2 most necessary, I think, right now in City. If you really want to spend the Mystic gear, Cloak and Dagger are very good. If you only want to bring one of them, that would be Cloak. If you're looking for Web Warriors to bring into the DD5, Ghost Spider would be number 1. OG Spider-Man would be number 2. Then maybe Scarlet Spider, but I wouldn't really suggest going that deep into it. Ms. Marvel's another contender, if you already built her up high enough for that. Jessica Jones, another great contender, if you already built her up. The problem is you're going to want to watch how much bio gear you're using. That's where the Web Warriors come in, again, being pretty cheap. Just remember the city nodes are the hardest nodes in there. As far as skill, Dr. Doom's pretty much a necessary character you need to bring in. If you're trying to skimp on gear, the only horse you can bring in, Agatha and Wong and Gambit are the only ones out of the Horseman teams who are any okay. But don't ignore the Secret Avengers. They are quite good in DD5, and they are the skill raid team. They probably will be for the future, too. There's nothing wrong with putting gear 16 on them. And don't forget, once you complete DD5 2 times, you're going to have quite an influx of teal gear in order then to work on those Horseman teams. Next top priority for teal gear would be the rest of the Darkhold, getting into gear 16 at least. I would say stop at gear 16 for now. You want to get all the Horseman teams at gear 16, get the unlock, and if you have time as you're getting gear, maybe then work on getting the other teams up to year 17. Number 3 would be the Unlimited X-Men, because we actually have them all. Getting them to gear 16, that would be taking up all your mutant gear. But again, you want them at gear 16. We've already had Rogue. We don't know when she's coming back, but she would be the next one to come out a second time. And then finally, the fourth and last team would be the Bamma Team. That's where all your bio gear is going. Unfortunate. We'll have to see what the War Team is going to be like. I mean, not War Team, Death Team. What's hopefully it's not all mutants, but it's looking like it might be the next mutant raid team. That's just what we have to work on. I hope this video is helpful and informative. And until next time, everybody.